So, man, this has been really good. I can't believe we've already been chatting for probably 45 minutes-ish at this point. Boring the listeners,
Same.
sorry. But let's see here. I know that we also took these quizzes right before today's session.
Yes. Okay. And so just so that like let people know, and I'll include it in the show notes, but there is a free survey. It's called the VIA Classification of Strengths. And VIA stands for Values in Action. This identifies the top 5 in your life that you can build upon and focus on what's going right and to help you in any given moment reframe things and try and give things a different outlet or direction.
Yep.
So what were your top 5?
So I'm trying to pull them up now. Why don't you start first?
Yeah, okay. I felt mine were really true because there was no stretch of the imagination. On a good day, on a bad day, yes, I'm still going to have these top 5 characteristics. Number 1 was honesty. And to me, that feels relatively easy. Sometimes I feel I'm too honest, or I don't know how to say what I mean nicely or in a polite way. I will tell you that in that topic, AI has been an incredible teacher. I love it because I can tell it, I can feed it, okay, this is what I mean, and this is what I want to convey, and these are the words that I want to use. But I know it's not how I want to deliver it because I don't want to burn bridges. I want to maintain trust and all these things. So I will feed it exactly what I would want to say, and it can put it in other words. It's magic. It's like, oh yeah, that's how I'm supposed to, as a human, relay these things instead of just
Maybe
saying what I want.
yeah. That's fair.
Retraining me, like how to not to be less honest, but to be honest in a way that doesn't cut. Because my ascendant ruler is Mars, and that's one of the key words of Mars in the traditional astrology is cutting. So I want to be less cutting. I want to be more personal. So yeah, not less honest, but just in the way I deliver it,
Sure.
more personally. And keeping a hold of that humanity aspect. I'm talking to another human being that deserves respect and love. Okay, so honesty was number 1. And then I had fairness. And that's also, I think, almost to a fault. I want to say to a fault because I think maybe it does come from growing up in a very poor, impoverished childhood. I was really tuned in to what felt fair and unfair. And that doesn't even just have to be that. It can be on a metaphysical level, or sometimes I feel life should be fair. And it's taken me up to this point. I'm 43 years old. Life isn't fair. And coming to terms with that and being okay with that, I feel like I'm just getting better with age.
You're a fine wine, is what I'm hearing, April.
Fine line for
Yeah.
sure. So honesty, fairness. 3rd one was love of learning. 4th one was curiosity. The love of learning and the curiosity, to me, they're one and the same. And then the 5th one was appreciation of beauty and excellence. And I guess that kind of touches on the fact that I am a poet. I love poetry. And it brings this thought to mind. I actually read this excellent quote from a gentleman named, and I'm almost always bad with names, but I actually put word pictures to it so that I would remember it. Clint Smith is his name. I'm so happy. I actually got to attribute something. His name is Clint Smith, and he was saying poetry is the act of seeing. And I just loved that so much because there are so many people trying to define what poetry is. And so for me, that is spot on. Appreciation of beauty and excellence. Yeah, excellence. I love when people give something their best and their 100%. And Yeah, that's another thing that I can probably work on. When someone isn't excelling or giving their best, I have a tendency to be a little judgmental on that too. So it's
Sure.
like, but learning that I do have an appreciation of excellence. And so when someone is uh, giving it their all or they're excelling at something, I think that in another one of Clifton Strength Finders is another test. I think that was a gift of mine is that not only can I strive for excellence in myself, I can kind of see where other people's strengths are too and
Right.
try to help them develop those. So,
Exactly. And this is really fun. It's interesting because when I logged into my like account, I had taken this test before, quiz or perspective thing before. So I'm wondering if the last time we did this podcast, I took this. But I was like, well, let me just take it again because as we've kind of even touched today, with time, change happens, you know? And I think, unfortunately, I think I lost my results from 2021, but my results from today prior to this call, my top one, kind of like yours, I was looking through because each of these strengths also get tagged with a particular subcategory. Like you had said, kindness, that's humanity, fairness is justice, love of learning and curiosity is wisdom, appreciation of beauty and excellence is transcendent. Those were the ones I think you had said. And so they're tagged within particular categories. And so I also touch wisdom and humanity and everything. So I think that's really fun. Transcendence. So yeah, my top one is perspective, just being able to kind of take in and give balanced perspectives to others, which is under the tagged category of wisdom, followed by social intelligence, which was my top one last time. I don't remember all five, but social
I'm so
intelligence is my.
envious. I'm so envious.
Oh, social intelligence? Oh, I,
Yes.
so being aware, yeah, so just kind of like being aware of others. But I think that's the, let's use loose quotes here, empath in me or former empath in me, just kind of having to emotionally read a room. But that's just my upbringing.
Mhm.
We had to kind of read the room quietly, you know. Humor is a transcendence one. No, I would say present conversation aside, I really think in group settings, I'll like love to throw in the quips or just kind of be witty or what have you. And then four is spirituality, which is another transcendence. And then love was my number five, valuing close relations with others and sharing and caring, being reciprocated, which is honestly why I think this works, is because if you're a Scorpio rising, I think you say Scorpios are very deep by nature and just almost not, I don't want to say secretive, but they're very deep. And I just really love when the Scorpio bubbles up and will let you into their depth, and I really, really love depth. And I cannot ask, I cannot really talk about the weather. Now I can talk about, okay, the energy of spring. I'll do that all day. But then like, oh yeah, it's 2 degrees out. I cannot get through
Same.
high
Same
level
here.
conversation. Oh my goodness. But then I'll just get caught at the gas station talking to people for 20 minutes. When those conversations happen, I love to make space for them and just be where someone is at. And if somebody's in their suffering, like you say, and just being with them in it. And it doesn't mean I have to join you and suffer on behalf of you, because I too have gone through eras, years of suffering. That's not bad. It's not wrong to suffer. But in those moments, it's okay, I'm learning how to engage with the tunnel. I'm not just trying to run through it and get to the light on the other side of it, you know? So, in terms of trying to re engage with people when they're in their low or their high moments, it's just okay, how do we just be human with one another? And I think those five are definitely scream to me. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting quiz, and definitely with time and age and perspective on ourselves, think we can get more authentic with it and really kind of know who we are. So I think that was great
Yeah.
that your top one was honesty. And I remember taking the quiz since I did it right before this. And it was like, I will tell people the honesty, even if it gets me in trouble. And I was like, ooh, no, I don't think I would do that in the sense of like at work right now, my 9 to 5, kind of navigating a circumstance where I feel like I just want to cut through everything with a hot knife. Nope, I want to keep my job. So I'm not going to. I will not do that. So I'm not really one of those people. I'm definitely moderating myself, I think, a little bit more. I think that's really
Mm.
powerful that we can have these strengths. And yeah, or I really won't pick a fight with somebody. No, I remember actively knowing, yeah, it's not that I don't know my own truth for myself or from my own point of view, what my honesty is, just that I might not share that to harm myself or another in that situation. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting that you're finding a way to share the honesty. And I'm kind of like, ooh, maybe not. So we all have these strengths and they come together for this ecosystem of life. So,
Well, one thing that I liked about it is that it's not just identifying it to be some cutesy survey, but it's telling you these things so that you can build on them in real ways. So, for example, if you know that one of your strengths is curiosity, then you need to employ that every day. Find a way of maybe taking a different way home than you're used to. Allow yourself to be curious because there's three questions. Am I good at it? Is it energizing? And how often do I use that? So these strengths, maybe you should be really good at it if it's a strength, but is it energizing? If it's not energizing, then more likely it's not a strength, the strength that you think it is. So, am I good at it? So does it come easy? Is it energizing? And how often do I use that? So maybe we have a strength that we should be using more often to develop it, and we're underutilizing it to make a happy life for ourselves because we're too busy concentrating on the things that we could do better.
uh,
So we should use our strengths in the right moments, in the right amounts, and in new and different ways. So I loved that because timing is everything. Maybe you don't need to you should use one strength instead of another in specific moments in the right amount and in new and different ways. So just building on whatever that strength is, like testing and using that muscle. So I loved that. Question for you. How is Venus retrograde going? Do you have any Venus retrograde stories for us?
oh man, let's talk about retrogrades. And also, we're in Mercury retrograde now, too. I appreciate how much you love the planets because I really do too. I try not to say they're the end all be all or let it prohibit me from living my life or something, but I do like
Right.
them as
Yeah.
just general guideposts. I have I'll call it a poorly placed Venus. And so I have Venus conjunct Pluto in my house of Scorpio, actually, which is my fifth house, health, house of health. So if I were to have Venus in my fifth house, that would traditionally be a good thing. But because it's conjunct Pluto, that to me is like, don't have kids. And it's interesting because I never wanted kids. I just have a weird sense about it. And my astrologer was like, do not. Well, first she asked, do you want to have kids? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, thank God. So, but anyway, so with Venus retrograde, I got a haircut right before it and it was the first
Mm.
day of Venus retrograde, and I was like, okay, well, let me just play it kind of safe because I'm kind of the type of person that I don't like to get my hair cut during a Venus or a Mercury retrograde. And my haircut was fine. It was fine, but it's not that great. I mean, it's good, but it's too long actually. And I was like, well, I guess I just won't get it cut for another month and a half because I won't get it cut during a Mercury cusp or, anything. I don't really doing anything major during Mercury retrograde as that's Mercury's my chart ruler. So it sounds like Mars is. I thought it was Pluto for Scorpio, but maybe not. But it's Mercury for mine because my chart rule. I'm Gemini rising, and so because of that, Mercury. And then we're meeting on Wednesdays. So even though Mercury is in retrograde, and hopefully it's going okay, um, but
We can't let things determine what we want to do. So I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna see what happens.
right, exactly. And like I know they're like, oh, exes come back, and I'm like, I don't know if I think you and I have been in relationships long enough. I'm like, what exes? You know what I mean? I just have spent majority of my life with my current partner. But at the end of the day, in December, there was a major Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, and my sun is in Sagittarius. And I actually fell on ice and I broke my wrist. And then I had to basically, I had all of these delays in calling doctors and finding a surgeon and getting surgery and getting to the right doctor. and it was so insane. But it was just one of those, but I'm not going to delay. I mean, I am going to experience delays, but I'm not going to delay in finding a doctor and having the medical procedure that I want or what have you. So I've had a few interesting circumstances that take place during Mercury or Venus retrogrades, but I do live my life to your point. So how about you? Did you have something happen recently or?
Yes. Okay. So I always have these long stories. Okay, I'm part of Amanda Barnett at Barney and Flo. She has a collective, it's a membership. And what she has started doing is because there's so much information in her portal, she has featured certain things each month. So it makes it more bite-sized. And you're not overwhelmed with all the content. And one of the things that she was talking about for this month was looking at your conscious Venus in your human design. And so I was researching about my what human design gate my conscious Venus is in. And one of the things that could be helped by that gate is physical activity like martial arts or qigong and things like that. So I've looked into some free community classes that are offered in that. So that's going on. And then, oh my gosh, speaking of past lovers or ex-friends, I had actually gone to you after one of my best friends had ghosted, and that was maybe 5 years ago now. I can't even remember. And you basically counseled me not to pursue that anymore. Like, don't try to get her attention anymore because I had been trying to find out what the hell did I do wrong. Let me at least find out so I can apologize for whatever it was. I must have been blocked or whatever because it wasn't going through. I wasn't getting responses or something. Anyway, you told me to stop, and I did. And I will just tell you that it's been 5 years later, and in the past 3 days, 2 of those nights, I've had dreams in which I have reconciled with her. But I know the ball would be in her court if she ever wanted to come back around. But I think it's just so weird.
So
It
interesting.
just speaks to like there's still a wounding there, I guess, that my psyche is healing in my dream state, even if it's not able to really have that happen on the waking life.
Hmm.
I'm taking care of it
I think that's
on
so
a different plane.
exactly. Yeah, your psyche's working on it, or maybe both of your psyches are working on it and meeting in dream. Have you, this is off topic, but have you seen the show Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime?
I did. Okay, well, I haven't seen all of it, but I started watching the first season and I was enthralled with it just because of the cinematography.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to look at.
Yes.
But then at the end of the first season or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, they did it. They were going to continue to torture my characters, have them be on the good side and then flip and be on the bad side. And I'm like, no,
I
why
know. We need
can't
to
you
be on
just
the
let
good.
these people be? So I
But
stopped watching. Even so, tell me about it.
oh, I just thought it was interesting. There's this whole concept where people can meet each other in dreams. I mean, obviously it's a fantasy series or what have you, but I always, I also am in talk therapy, and my therapist is a psychological analyst, specifically based in Carl Jung therapy or Carl Jung
Mhm.
psychology, which really pulls upon the shadow or the unknown and everything, which I actually really love because in to your point on man's search for meaning, or to your point on, oh, I need to have this why. This is that the why is assumed. There is a why. Whatever's happening, there is a why. We don't necessarily have to know it, but it's just continual examination of our unconscious or our dreams. Dreams is a really big part of Carl Jung's, psychoanalyst and what have you. And I just find it really interesting sometimes when there's these plays between worlds and what does it mean and what are these symbols. So I think that's where my head went to, like, Wheel of Time, and the season 3 is out. So I'm really looking forward to watching that. Speaking of circles and full loops, That will probably be my spring equinox celebration. I'll watch that because I think the next episode of season 3 comes out. We should be sponsored by Wheel of Time, but I find that to be a really interesting show, even though it's fantasy, not reality based series. So, but yeah,
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you about when you were mentioning earlier on about how we all have psychic abilities or things like that. Have you heard or watched the telepathy tapes? I know it's kind of like it's in the heyday right now. Okay, so it follows the science and research behind telepathy and how it is actually across the board present in non-speaking people with autism. And because spelling methods have gotten better, yeah, they were just exploring through these 2 seasons, I think there is now, of how it's a real verifiable thing. And then that's just the tip of the iceberg. And they have all these other spiritual gifts too, where they can identify sickness and help heal people and different things like that. And one of the things that they mention is that these people, these autistic people, nonverbal, they all knew about this one place, even though they're not able to communicate with each other. It didn't even matter where in the world they were. They were all aware of this thing, this place called the Hill. And so I knew me and Courtney Starkey, she'd been listening to it as well. And so last night before I went to bed, I was like, let's meet on the hill, or at least our version of it, in our dreams tonight, okay? And she was like, yes, let's do it. Then today I asked her, well, did you dream anything? And she said, no. How about you? And I haven't really talked to her about this, so I don't know that I have permission to share, so I won't say. But I just had this feeling of, oh, this is it. And it was just this one mental image, and that was it. And so I shared that with Courtney, and she was like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe it, but that actually has so much meaning for me. And she's supposed to record a voice memo for me later today when she got into good Wi-Fi and tell me exactly why that is. But I just thought that was really fascinating that I just had this internal, oh, this is it. And it ended up just being this one little quick mental picture. And then that was it. That was bizarre, but it actually meant something to her. So I'm really interested in seeing what that is. And I'm really curious and excited to see where we all start to play with these abilities and strengths, and because I love the synchronicities. I think to me that's what has shown me that life is not just a random series of events. There for a while, I think I was more of a deist perspective because of the complexity in creation. I felt like there had to be a creator, but that maybe he just left it. He kind of left it to be on its own and went somewhere else. And so that was in some of my darker questioning periods. But synchronicities kind of make life feel magical, and it kind of makes everything seem, to at least me, to be, okay, yeah, there is meaning, there is a divine intelligence behind everything. He didn't just set it into motion and walk off, that kind of thing. So
sure, I'm with you. And there's so much of that concept in the book, The Ark, as well. So I know that our continued conversations, we will be touching on that theme more. And gosh, I love Courtney Starkey. She's incredible. Plug for Courtney here and anything she's got going on, because she is truly one of a kind, such a special soul. I'm so glad she's here on this earth right now, and that you and I both met through her, basically. So, well, how powerful. This is really good. I think we've got a lot covered. We covered a lot today, and we definitely have so much more coming in our next meetup. So,
okay, I know where I was going now with the human design conscious gate Venus. The gift or city of that expression of that gate was intoxication. I was like, oh my gosh, intoxication, but it's intoxication of what is in this present moment, because I'm so forward thinking of how I want things to be. that I'm not intoxicated with the present moment through my five senses. And the shadow of that is distraction, using the five senses to be distracted and distracting myself from the present reality of what is and loving it and accepting it for what it is. So anyway, as I was putting together some things before we got into the call, I hope to have maybe a little bit more structure for us going forward. But I was thinking maybe we can break it down into the five senses and give that to us as springboards for discussion. What's something that you tasted, felt, heard, smelled, or saw, and just kind of use that as a springboard for discussion and kind of make us more intoxicated with the now moment.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we can definitely do that. I like, let's play. Speaking of Sandbox, let's always play. So that sounds great. I do think we're going to get into a rhythm as we move forward and everything. So it'll be a lot of fun.
I appreciate you being willing to do this with me. I get your sense of playfulness and curiosity with me, and so I don't feel like there's some people that you feel like you can go in certain places and not be judged, or I do not feel judged with you. I feel I can talk about something or explore something and you're just okay with it and you're gonna meet me there wherever it is.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of my strengths, perspective. I'm absolutely here in this. Let's just hold the space and be there for one another. I think and send people, and I'll at least be with them in the space that they're in as I continue to transcend my own experience too, and exactly with those five senses. I know when we first met, and this is probably on our other podcast about how we first met via Courtney Starkey and doing a hypnosis technique together. And I was the practitioner and you were receiving it. And you were having a really difficult time getting through it. So we worked with the five senses and just went with, okay, let's feel something, let's smell something, just because I have this very strong background of yoga nidra meditation technique, which pulls from the five senses and really firmly grounds us in the now. And it's from the now where all things are possible, because that is where the entire universe exists. So I've always appreciated your open-mindedness as well, and just wanting to play and being curious and bringing that strength to the table and letting yourself be energized by it. It's been such a lovely conversation today. Thanks for having it.
I see what you did there. I see what you did. You pulled in the things that we had talked about. It's a beautiful way of summing it up. Thank you. Thank you for being with me. And I know you're the one that's recording, so you can shut me off. But
Full circle.
I had such a great time. Thank you, Megan.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. We'll chat again soon.